We're fun.
Are we live?
Okay.
We are.
Okay. Well, welcome. This is a very special episode of our podcast, Rhymes with Orange. And we are doing something new today. We are going on Instagram Live. And so if you're watching, this is new, so there will be hiccups throughout. And we apologize in advance for that. But what is not new is that we've got some great guests on our show today. And our first two joining us are Kristen Wagner-Hilt, and she is, I should have read this before we got started, and we're live, but no, she is, she's with the first year experience. She's a graduate assistant, and she heads up the first generation mentoring program, first generation college student mentoring program here on campus. And we have 3 first-generation students with us as well, but only one with us at this moment, and that is Yesenia Terrell. She is an exercise science pre-OT major and part of the Exercise Science Club. We will also have Rachel Jones and Taylor Long coming up on the second half of the show. But first off, thank you both for being on Rhymes with Orange today. The purpose of the show is that November 8th, which I believe is tomorrow, is the second National First Generation College Student Celebration. And on campus, from 10 to 12 in the academic circle, you guys will have a table and a tent set up, and people can come to your table, learn more about what it's like to be a first-generation college student, learn more about statistics, and most importantly, if they are a first-generation student, they can learn more about the mentoring program here, they can learn more about the first-year experience. The most important thing people need to get out of today is that Campbell University is there for the first-generation student. And so welcome to Rhymes with Orange, and we always start off our show after this ridiculously long intro. We always start off the show by asking what brought you to Campbell University, and Kristen, we will start with you.
All right. Kind of a weird roundabout way. I went to Kent State University in Ohio for undergrad, and for a long time was in the restaurant fine dining business, and just decided I wanted to do something more. I wanted to help people. I just wasn't happy with where I was at, and started looking at graduate programs, and lo and behold, I found Campbell University's clinical mental health program, and moved here in June, and that's where I'm at now.
We have a lot of North Carolinians that come here from Ohio, so
yes,
what is the draw to a state like North Carolina? When was this in the middle of winter and you just didn't know? Okay.
Yeah, so that's a big part of it. I was over the winter and just wanted to do something different. I have friends that live down here, really good friends from college actually, and yeah, so my boyfriend and I packed up our dogs and decided to make the move. And
we'll talk a lot about first generation, but first, Yesenia, are you a freshman?
Yes.
Okay. Why Campbell University?
I don't know. I applied to several different schools, and I looked at their occupational therapy programs, and I don't know, I came to Campbell. I visited like 3 times before I decided like this is where I wanted to go. I cried the first time, and I cried the second time, and the third time I was like, I think I should go here.
So happy tears?
Yeah, tears of joy.
Okay.
Like I was like, this is it. I knew this was for me when I came and visited the first 3 times.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin when we talk about this subject because there's so much to talk about. Mm-hmm. I'm editor of Campbell Magazine, and it's a story that's close to me because I was a first generation student. So last summer we did a big cover story feature on what it's like to be a first generation college student. And we purposely, in the title of the story, said the struggles and triumphs of being a first generation student because there are a lot of struggles. Mm-hmm. But for those students that get through the 4 years, the rewards are even greater. So either of you can start on this one, but I want to start with the struggles because I had my own. What are some of the biggest obstacles that a first generation student faces? And for the students that are on here, tell us your personal struggles. Like what's made your first year more difficult than maybe the average college student, do you think?
Well, I feel like I'm kind of just like coming in kind of blind. Like I don't really know everything I'm supposed to do. I feel like a lot of people know like, oh, I get here, this is what I have to do. And like, I don't really know, like, let's see. I don't know. I just came in and I was kind of lost. Having a mentor really helped because I'm able to ask a lot of questions and they're here for me. And they're just here to like guide me, which is like super helpful because I'm really like blind. Like I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going with it and trying to figure it out as I go.
Is this a Campbell appointed mentor? Is this part of this mentor program?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
Okay.
gonna say I think so. Yes.
So Kristen, tell us how that works. How do you match these students with a mentor here?
Yeah, so this project actually came out of doing this article. We had talked about the importance of having a mentoring program on campus. And so what we did is we honestly put together like a Microsoft form, and we asked the mentors what their major was, where they, what industry do they work in, because they could be alum as well. So it's a faculty, staff member, or an alumni. We've got all three. And so those types of things, we talked about different struggles that they had. So we tried to match maybe if you had, you were an out-of-state student. Or we also talked about different hobbies. So if there were things that the students had that were the same, we try not to get like they like to read, the student likes to read. We wanted to get a little bit more depth into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a big part of that was major selection and where the students wanted to take their career path.
And who's your mentor?
Myra Stockdale.
Is she a professor? Is she a staff member? Is she a graduate
She's
student?
the director assistant.
It's okay. Director
She's a
assistant.
staff member. She's a full-time
Yeah.
staff member.
So what does she do that helps then? Not like is it just you go to her for advice? Is it she comes to you and says, I want to see your grades. I want to see how you're doing it?
Kind of everything. I walk into her office all the time, and I'll just sit in there and talk to her for hours just about like I'm struggling, or like I really need help with this. What do I do? I text her all the time. She's just always there when I need her, which is like super. Yeah, she brings us queso from Moe's all the time too,
Queso.
which is nice. Yeah,
Gosh, I want to know.
yeah, she's just always there, which is like super helpful, and it's good to like know that I can, if I ever need someone to talk to, like she's there, and if I have questions, she's there, like literally all the time. So yeah.
And how are these mentors chosen? And if you just answered that, I'm sorry.
No. So we did, it was just by interest. So we
Okay.
actually asked, I think we sent out an email, this was right before I got here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you did say how
How they're
like
matched.
how they're matched,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing, but they have to be first generation students. Is
They
that
have
right?
to be,
Okay.
yeah. So
And
they
why
had
is
to
that
be,
important?
so they understand the same struggle because it is different. And I think that's, we're not trying to be exclusive or, but you have to understand, I think, and you might, because you were first generation, there's a lot of different things. Like she was saying, you come in and you feel blind or you don't know what you're doing. So having that support system of, not only was I there for that, but I also completed this, degree, and I'm here to help you do those pieces, I think is really important. But we actually had to shut down our, cut off the mentors because we had too many, which was great.
That is great.
Yeah, after 2 weeks we had to shut it down because we had so many people that want to mentor. So we've got a waiting list of mentors for the next year, next semester.
Wow, that's impressive.
Do you have some, or I know we're live, but
I'm not a first generation student, so I have
That's
a lot
okay.
of questions. But I guess mostly what I wonder about is how is college talked about in your households when you're growing up? Because I mean, my mom was a teacher, so I know she went to college. We never really talked about college, but it's always kind of, I think for a lot of students who come to college, it's kind of expected. Like your parents are always on you about your grades and they have a path set out for you. Did you guys feel the same way growing up?
So my parents were always really strict on me about my grades, but I'm also really hard on myself too. Both of my parents actually went to the military right after high school, so yeah, I came from a military family, and I don't know, they always told me it was important to go to college. They didn't want me to go into the military like they did, so I really worked really, really hard in high school so that I could get to college and I could study what I wanted to do and do better than my parents did.
Cool.
No, go ahead. No, go.
I was just gonna
We're
ask if you had
bump heads at
ever.
one point.
We are just gonna be dangerous. If you had ever considered the military just to kind of spite your parents. I was just curious.
I heard stories from both my parents, and I really don't think I could do it.
I don't think I'd be in the same boat. I think that's more than fair.
That's an important question. We're going to ask both of you the same thing too, is growing up in a house where it's not expected and you ultimately make that decision. how early in your life though did you realize that your next step was college, or was this something you even thought about through high school?
I always knew I wanted to go to college. I never was really sure like what I wanted to study, but I had always known I wanted to go to college. I just like in high school found out what I wanted to study, but my parents had always made it a point to be like, yeah, you want to go to college. It's important for you to go to college. You want to get somewhere, so go to college.
And so, why are you here then? What are you studying to be, and what do you want to do? And how early in life did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? I'm using quote marks for people that are listening there.
Well, I really like working with like people with special needs, and so in the 8th grade, like that's when I realized I wanted to work with people in special needs. So all throughout high school, I worked with like clubs, and I was like president of clubs, and we just planned events for people with special needs and stuff. And that's when I figured out I wanted to do occupational therapy. I was in between physical and occupational, but I figured out that with occupational, you work more with like a different range and like a wider range of people. So yeah, I just knew I wanted to help people. Like I like helping people and like seeing them happy. It makes me happy. So.
And Kristen, it says here
Yes.
you were also a first generation student, and
Yes.
it's important if you're leading this program. Tell us your story. When what was your situation growing up, and when did you decide college was right for you?
So my mom went to school but didn't complete college, and that's something that the first generation definition is very unclear about. But for Campbell's standard, ours is that to be first generation, your parents didn't complete a 4-year degree.
Right.
So we find that to be important because of the perseverance of finishing that degree. It is difficult. So for me, it was expected. I'm the first of 4 in my family. So I don't think it wasn't an option not to go. I'm sure if I just said I didn't want to and join the military, I could have. But it was always expected that I was going to go. And yeah, so I think that is important, that you've finished that if you're going to mentor, so that you understand where they're at. You know, because we pair them freshman year, but our hope is that this fosters through the college experience all the way through. So.
And that 4-year retention rate is important, or
Yeah.
the retention rate's important, but there's also your schools are graded on their ability to graduate a student within 4 years. And for a first generation student, whether it's finances that get in the way, whether it's grades, which was kind of my problem, but it was but yeah, and then there would be semesters where I would have to work, and so I would do a 6-hour semester, and so that adds up. And then you switch majors, and if I had somebody at the very beginning who said, what do you want to do? Let's show you the right path to get there. It would have made a world of difference, just an absolute world of difference. And so do you guys feel like this program will not only help these students individually, but help the overall retention rates, and are first generation students more inclined to drop out than other students?
So there's been a couple. There's actually a lot of studies on this right now because it is such a hot topic. But I think one of the last articles that I read said that about half of the students that are first generation do not graduate on time. So that's something that we identify as being an issue and important at Campbell to guide that. I actually didn't have a mentor either at put Kent State University on the list, but we didn't.
A few years ago, I mean.
Yeah, and I think I struggled a lot. I changed my major 3 different times. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and even so, the degree that I got, I wasn't utilizing in the last 10 years. So, there's a couple different content areas that we identified in working with these mentors when we trained them over the summer, on things that the students might be dealing with. So financial, not everybody that's first gen is going to have financial strife, but there's going to be a lot of people that do. So the financial piece, there's academics. We talked about home versus school life. So feeling like you don't fit in either place.
Okay.
So, are you too good for your family because you went to college and now you still don't feel like you fit in at the university because you feel a little bit behind or a little bit lost? That's another big piece to it.
And I think the story touched on that too. Like you said, you're too good for your family now. And yes, that surprisingly that happens. Oh, college boy, you know, what's he got? You know, your cousin comes in, hunting rifle over his shoulder and shirtless, and he's like, "What's up, college boy?" And you feel a little weird.
Did that happen to you?
Maybe. Maybe. I'm from Texas.
Oh, you're right.
It might have happened, but no, it's but not only that, but when you do come from a situation where maybe you're working and your family depends on that money as well, and so you know, a lot of families, you know, maybe if they're struggling, they'll say, "You've got to step up, and we can't afford this anymore, and we need you to contribute," and that hurts too. So I mean, there's just so many situations that first generation students go through that I think not everybody understands, and so the fact that Campbell's doing this, I think, is great, absolutely great. And so we're going to pause on the podcast in a minute, and but on live we're just going to keep it rolling, and people can see the scene change here. But I did want to mention also, we are broadcasting from the second floor of the new admissions building here on campus, and so yes, behind us is a wonderful view of D Ridge and Kivett Hall. We had to put the shades down because the light was blinding the camera here, but you could still see it. You could still see it through the shade, and this is an amazing new building, and another reason people are choosing to come to Campbell University. But thank you both, Yesenia and Kristen. Kristen, if you wouldn't mind just staying close by, because we might have another question for you. You might have to chime in.
Totally fine.
But we're going to bring the other two on. I've got your names right here, Rachel and Taylor. We're going to bring Rachel and Taylor on, and so on the podcast, it's going to be a quick thing, but on Instagram, we'll get started here in a little bit. So thanks.
Nice job.
No, great job. All right. So yeah, scene change here.
What is that? Are you good? Do you need to switch?
I'm good. No, I'm good with that. If you want to.
When you got your job on campus, did you end up applying to the call center because we sent that email out
Start with that
they were holding jobs or no? Okay. I'm just interested because I don't think a lot of
There's
people
college
did.
stories too. Like, so if you'll start with why Campbell and then why you choose college. You start with those two, and then I'll pick up, you know, what they're saying and just go from there. So you can kind of lead this one, and then I'll and then if we need to bring Kristen back in, we'll say, "Hey, Kristen."
Sorry.
That's all right.
I'll come back over
That's all right.
just in case.
I don't know how many minutes we're on. Are we getting? Like, can we see how many people are viewing? I'm going to poke
I saw
my.
like comments popping up.
Yeah, we've got several people joining. Hey, everybody.
I forgot I was still on.
That's all right. Yeah. Cool. Well, basically, those of you who are watching this on Instagram, I know you're not picking up the mic feed, so let us know if the sound is coming in all right. If it's not, just tell us. But we want to do more of this, at least once a semester, a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live podcast, and we want to pick subjects that we think a lot of people are interested in. So tell us if you like it. Tell us if it's a big waste of time. So. Gigi Mandrini sent a request to be in your live video. So how do we do that?
I have
no idea.
It says
They'd have to like come here.
Yeah. No, they can be tagged in it. I think that's what that is.
okay. Well, sorry, I don't know how to do that right now, Gigi Mandrini, but we'll figure it out. But hey, we just mentioned you live, so anyway.
Shout out.
You're on.
Oh, terrible.
So we're gonna get started. If one of you wants to wear the headphones, you can. But just remember, with this mic in particular, you gotta get really close, and with this one, when you talk,
I liked hearing it. I probably looked like a fool, but it was fine.
Yeah, I liked it. I was interested myself.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I'll just take it from you if
Great.
yeah. So all right, we are back live.
Great. We're gonna start right where we left off and just ask you guys how each of you discovered Campbell and decided to come here. Let's start with Rachel.
Okay, so my grandma is actually an alumni here. She went when it was Campbell College, I do believe.
Yeah, that's right.
She got a teaching degree when they were trying to hire teachers to pretty much come here for free because there was such a lack of teachers.
Oh, wow.
I always kind of known about it because of that. I actually originally planned to go to Brevard, North Carolina, the college there, and
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
it's super small, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I found out that like my brother's girlfriend was pregnant, and I was like, I can't be 5 hours late for my nephew, can't be 5 hours late for my family. So actually I'm like 30 minutes now. It's super convenient, and they are one of the only schools that still offers a master's program for my major that got expanded this past year. So it kind of just all fell into place all at once.
Remind us what your major is.
Kinesiology pre-18.
Yeah, that's great. What about you, Taylor?
So it's kind of a funny story. I wasn't actually planning to come to Campbell because I live 30 minutes away. I'd always wanted to go out of state. So I applied to Campbell and a couple of other schools, but I was like set on Lee University, which is like a small Christian school in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And it came right down to graduation. I graduated high school, and then 2 weeks later, Lee dropped my program. So I no longer had a program there. So it was kind of a last minute decision to come to Campbell, and I'm thankful I'm here. I was glad that they still accepted me and let me come, so that's how it happened.
That would give me a lot of anxiety that close to
It's actually kind of crazy. So I didn't have a room until like the day before I moved in. The first week I didn't have a meal plan.
Had you ever been to Campbell before? Had you done any tours or anything like that?
So I live 30 minutes away. I live in Garner. So I've been to Campbell. Like, it's not like a crazy thing to come down here and come to a football game when you're young. So like I've been here before. So
Okay, I'm glad you had a little familiarity. That's helping me out. How old were you when you both remember making a conscious decision? You know, I'm determined I'm going to go to college.
So I was actually in a program in high school that's kind of like this called AVID. I don't know if some of you have heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much a college preparation course. Starts freshman year, and you have to interview to get into it 8th grade. So like that was kind of then, but my brother was also in it, and he's 4 years older than me. So kind of around 4th or 5th grade, I was like, wow, college is a thing, like, haha. And then 8th grade, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna do this program because it's gonna help me. So like 8th grade was kind of when I was just like hammering down, and I was like, college.
Do you remember if that program is that just for students who would be first generation students, or is that open to any 8th grader who feels like they want to support?
So it's pretty much the same thing with like the first gen, but it kind of narrowed down to like if one of your parents went to college, but they tried to make it so like nobody in your family, not like nobody, but mostly like your immediate, like your brothers, parents, stuff like that, didn't go to college. So it was all new to us too, and that's why they kind of targeted these people that didn't have that structure at home to help them get through like even high school at the time, because like that was different in middle school and elementary school, and so it really helped with the transition. And then junior, pretty much freshman through senior year, I was prepping for college and doing visits and learning how to do SATs and ACTs, which was also a super big help because like my brother didn't do the best in high school even though he was in that program, and so I took the initiative to be like, I'm gonna do good, like I'm going to college. And he actually didn't end up going to college even though he was in that program, but with ours, from when we graduated in 2018, every person ended up going to college from that class.
That's great.
That's really impressive, and it's great that there are programs like that out there.
Yeah.
How about for you?
College has always kind of been on my radar. So my grandmother, she went to ECU and she got her a degree in teaching in French. So she kind of inspired me to like pursue that. But other than her, nobody in my like family at all had ever been to college. We're a big farming community, and that's kind of what they did. So I've always been the one to kind of break the mold, and I decided like, okay, like I want to do something else with my life, and I knew the only way to do that was to go to college. So started thinking about that in like 6th grade.
So do either of you, the broader question is what's your family support like, but do either of you have the family member who walks in with a rifle over their shoulder shirtless and say, hey, college girl, I mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody but me.
Okay. What has been the family support, and if it's not been very good, then you don't have to answer that, because I don't want to cause any anything like that in
Mom,
here.
turn off the podcast.
Yeah. Don't listen to this part.
But it's important that your family's on board with this, and what's that support been like for you?
For me, like my immediate family, as far as like my mom and dad go, they've always been very, very supportive of like whatever I wanted to do, whether that was college or going into the military. They were 110 behind it. But a lot of my like relatives, like my grandparents, they kind of view college as like a waste of money, waste of time. They've always thought that like you should go into the workforce and make money, like why waste 4 years? So there's not a lot of support from that end, but I feel very supported by my parents.
So my parents, just like yours, have always been like pretty much supportive, but they've always leaned more towards college because the fact that my brother didn't go and they didn't go, they know like the hardships, especially it even increased now of like trying to find a very good paying job to like support yourself and stuff like that, and like this economy, so they're like, go to college, go to college, go to college, and I was like, all right, like I can deal with that. But my grandparents are all super supportive, but I have like cousins, and like hopefully they're not listening. I don't really care at this point. I was like, whatever. But like my 3 cousins that I'm closest to are all around like the same age. I have like 2 that are twins that are about 5 years older, and they all went to like community college, and so like they were cool with that or whatever. And like my female cousin, her name's Kaylin, she's like 2 years older than me, and ever since I started thinking about like university instead of community college, she was kind of like, why? Like, why are you doing that? Why not just go to community college? Because like, you know, financial issues, you know, stuff like that. But like, I have very good scholarships at every school I applied to. I got good money through FAFSA because, you know, a single mom versus her household where there's 2 parents with a very good job coming in income. And it always seemed like this big jealousy thing that I was going to a university, I was away from home, I was doing like my own thing while she was at home, and like going to community college, it was like I was pretty much for like the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 months after I got accepted, every time I talked to her it was like, well, how are you going to afford it? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And it's like the fact that I told her, well, technically I'm paying like almost as much as you to go to a university that's private, and you're going to community college. It just like made her livid.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where I didn't really talk to her about college, and like we really haven't talked much about it with me being here. And I went home and saw her for like the first time, I don't know, probably like last weekend or so, and like nothing was said about how college was going or anything like that. And like it kind of hurts because like I hear all these other people about how supportive their cousins are, and like this and this, and like it just sucks that I don't have that support from her, I guess. But like I have it from my family, and like my parents, and like my brother and stuff like that. So like it's kind of in the back burner, but it's always there of like the jealousy, and I'm kind of like, okay.
And I completely understand that, and I also understand why little things like that make it just a little more difficult for a first generation student. And that kind of leads into my next question is there are little things, like you said, you got here a week before school started or a day before school started, and then, you know, so you're playing catch up that first week while everybody else already has all their books and they have everything set. What are some of the little things about your first semester here that you feel like was a struggle for you, that maybe I'm gonna call them a legacy student, but a student who's had generations go through this, and they know what they're doing? What are some of the little things that you found was difficult early on?
I think for me, the first week, like adjusting, even like the first 2 weeks adjusting was very hard, because I feel like a lot of people that like I chose to surround myself with that like I can call friends now, they definitely had like a better support system that could say like, I know like exactly where you are and this is what you have to do to move forward. And it was kind of like me and my parents just trying to like keep our heads above the water and figure out how financial aid's going to get me books, and how I'm going to get to class, and how I'm going to adjust like living away from home and not having anybody to say like, Taylor, this is how you do it. It was very hard to navigate that while trying to do classes as well.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And just being away from home in general, even though it's like 30 minutes, I don't even know how some of these people are dealing with it being out of country or across state. And like, I don't know, every time I like have an issue, I'm like, hey mom, like this is going on, and she's like, okay. I'm like, okay, like that's good to talk to you about it. Thanks for the support or help. But yeah, some other hard things like the financial aid, but also just like navigating myself around this campus, because like I came here for multiple tours, but it's like different when you're like, oh, I'm gonna go here, versus when you're here and you don't have that guide, and you don't, like everybody pretty much around you is lost, and you're just kind of like, oh, like it took me like 2 hours to find Marshbanks, and I was like, the first 2 weeks I only ate sandwiches because I was like, this food is so wild. And like, I'm used to home cooked meals every night, and I was like, I don't know what this is, and it tastes weird, so I'm just gonna eat a sandwich. So now I don't even want to look at a sandwich because I'm like, I'm tired of it. So the first 2 weeks I just overloaded with it. But also I feel like, yeah, it was rough.
I feel that.
Also, I feel like living in a dorm was a lot different. Like, at one point in my life, I like had shared a room with like my stepsister, so like having to share that space with somebody else wasn't so odd, but like seeing all these other people and then like being like, oh, trying to make friends with them or like trying to figure this out, it was kind of like, okay. And thankfully I'm in small, so like I only have to share a bathroom with like 2 other people, but like these people that are sharing it with like 10 people in general, I could not do it. Like I just couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
That's a huge. But
I think that's one of the things that having parents who've gone to college and dealt with roommate issues, I think that's a huge advantage to have someone who can be like, you know, everyone's different. Sometimes you gotta deal with stuff like that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Does social life, is it more difficult for students like us to
Personally, I've always been like a very social person. I enjoy having people around me. I really value my community, but it was very hard to like have to jump in and make completely new friends and try to balance that time between like friends that I'm still staying in touch with, trying to make new friends, and trying to start off well in my classes. It was hard to say like you can have this amount of time with this people, but you still have to do work. Because if I could, like, I would get a degree in social life, like I would. But
hey, maybe it's coming.
Yeah, I've been a very social person, and I really can say that I have not had an issue making friends. Cause like, I kid you not, every time I go downstairs to do laundry, I meet somebody new, and I'm like, it's true, let's go get food or something like that. And it's just like, bam, friendship, cause it's that easy for me. And like, I'm not trying to brag about that, but like, I'm just a very social person, and like, for some people that are feeling uncomfortable or feeling like they don't have friends, I don't know, I like feeling that like me smiling or me saying, hey, let's go do something, like gives them that push that they might not be able to take. So like, I don't know, I like being social and I like being friendly and like, maybe not being like best friends with that person, but having like acquaintances and like every time I walk to class, like I always have somebody I see and say like, hey, how are you doing, stuff like that, and I really enjoy that. So
you definitely build a network, especially when you first get here and everyone wants to know everyone.
Especially since it's so small too.
Yes.
Could you both tell us about your mentors and the kind of things that you ask them, even if it's not about social life, just about academics and things like that?
So I also have Myra as a mentor with Yesenia. So when she says we go in there to talk to her, I mean, it feels like 5 minutes. You look at the clock, it's like 2 hours later. Cause like we just click with her so well that like anything we say or like anything we do, she has advice on it. She's just a great person to talk to. Like, in all honesty, like I don't know if I had another mentor, if like I don't know. It's just like perfectly planned that like we got lined up with her because like so, like, we did have like a little bit of issues at the beginning of like getting in contact and stuff, but like we were kind of like, man, this is gonna suck. Like what we got ourselves into, and so then like once we actually got into it, we were like, this is great. And like we go out and eat all the time, and like not like all the time, like whatever, but like to talk about life, and like she brings us queso, and like she checks up on us if we talk to her about a test or like gives us advice, and like got tongue-tied. But she's super supportive and super helpful, and it's like having not necessarily like a mom figure, but it's like that adult figure that like I feel like everybody's leaning towards their parents to have, but it's like having them right here on campus and like having them available for whenever you need it, and that's so like amazing to have that person.
It's really great. Yeah. What about you, Taylor? Follow that.
Does your mentor bring you queso?
You don't get queso.
No. So I have a mentor. His name is Jason Geit, I guess. And if you're watching,
we know
I'm
Jason.
doing good.
We know Jason really well, yes.
I think he would be a great person, but our schedules conflict very often. So we've actually never like met other than when I got him. So I guess he would be awesome, but
You're like very well adjusted.
I feel
not that you guys aren't, but I feel like she joined a lot of organizations.
Yes.
Talk
I'm
about
very
Untitled.
Tell us what you're involved in.
Um,
hope you're watching this, Jason.
or email me or text me something. try to work it out. So I actually decided to join a sorority, and so I'm in Sigma Alpha Omega, and that has been like a huge help. I think that's kind of picked up a little bit of the slack because a lot of those girls that are upperclassmen like really are intentional with their relationship with like all of us, so that helps. And then just being in other clubs where there's upperclassmen involved, that can really help guide you along the way, is really good.
So sounds like one of our hopes for the event tomorrow is just that more students would, first of all, self-identify as first generation students, and that they could get hooked up with people like you guys who can kind of show them the ropes. But do any of you, even you two who aren't on the mics right now, could you condense it into one really important thing that future first generation students should know about the college experience that would really help them coming in?
Like, as joining first generation, or just like in general?
Just as coming in as students, is there one thing that you wish you'd known or that would really help?
I've got one.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm
You
like
hop in
in the
there.
thing there.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah.
Getting involved on campus is
Yeah.
huge. Getting involved is gonna help stay. You're gonna find your tribe. So that's big. I was in a sorority as well on campus, and even though I didn't have a mentor, those people were instrumental. So get involved, definitely.
Get involved.
Yeah.
Involved that.
Yeah.
My advice. Oh no, go ahead. I want to hear your advice first.
I would say if you're a senior and you're a first generation student looking for college, don't be afraid to go after what you want. Like, don't listen to everybody else, because at the end of the day, it's going to be you. You're going to be taking the classes. And don't be afraid to get involved in things that people around you are not doing. Because none of my other friends joined a sorority, and I decided to do that. So kind of like, college is a place to become who you want to be. Like, that's like your end goal, is to be happy with where you are and who you are. So really press into that starting your freshman year.
Yeah.
My advice is two things. Have a goal going in. I went into college very aimlessly. I made it to college. I thought that was good enough. I didn't know what I was in for. And so I struggled because of that. But also, I didn't seek help. I didn't ask questions. When I was struggling, I didn't go to somebody at my university and say, I need help, I need direction, because I didn't realize this, but the fact is, people that work at Campbell University want you to succeed. Believe it or not, they do. They don't want you to fail. This isn't like, my view of college was, wow, these professors are tough. They all want me to fail. Or why would they be so difficult? No, it's not the case. They want to help you. And they're not going to hold your hand through it all the time, but they will help you. And you just have to ask. And those who remain silent, I think, are the ones that are more likely to kind of drift away, ghost themselves out of it.
On that is that, like, even if your professors, you feel like you're not getting the amount of help from them, there's other resources around campus, especially Campbell, with tutoring and the writing center, that are like super helpful. But just like you said, you have to seek it and like want it, and it's not going to be handed to you. And you have to realize that in college, that not necessarily you're alone, but like you're making your own decisions. And so if you feel that you need to get help, you have to go seek it. It's not going to be something that the professor is going to say, okay, go do it. Like high school, it's a new thing, and you can't overload yourself, and it's a big adjustment from classes going from high school into college, and that's something that I had to learn completely. And so seeking help and doing things is something that I've really relied on this first semester.
And don't be afraid to fail. I think failure is a big learning curve, but I think like in high school it was much easier to fail and then like kind of be okay with it, but in college you really have to use it as a learning experience.
I think we've been on for almost a full hour now, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank Yesenia, I want to thank Rachel, and I want to thank Taylor. All three of you for your honesty. I mean, it's that's the most important thing here, is we want to hear about your experiences, and this will help future students. Believe it or not, this will help future students. And Rachel, you were particularly candid about your situation too, and I think you set a Rhymes with Orange record for calling things that things suck the most on this.
Oh, okay.
So you get,
Oh boy.
there's a prize for that.
Thanks.
I love it. No, thank you so much. And then Kristen Wagner-Hilt, thank you so much. I think what you guys are doing is great, and continued luck. The event is tomorrow from 10 to 12 in the Academic Circle, First Generation, National First Generation Day, we'll call it. And,
That's fine.
and, I don't have it in front of me, but you guys will have information, and most importantly, you'll be there to help people that need help. So thank you guys so much. I hope this worked pretty well on Instagram. I know it's going to be a great podcast.
Can't really see
Continued
it.
luck. And we would love to have you all through your first semester of freshman, correct?
Yes.
Love to have you on in 3.5 years, and
Yeah.
let's talk to you.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Let's talk to you if we're here. You know.
Oh.
But you never know. But if we're all here, let's have you back and let's talk about your first semester compared to your last. So thank you so much.
Thank
and
you. Thank you.
we're gonna sign off now. Thank you. Bye. All right, Instagram. I hope you like it.
Bye, Instagram. You pass it.
I'm gonna turn you
Yeah,
off
okay.
now.
It's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
theater.
I thought about that
It barely
earlier. I was
takes
like,
it to
man, we should have had you
Great.
first.
All right. How do you turn this off? And okay.
It's like a giant